Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Available T7528 and it says, am I the arsehole here for saying my brother shouldn't have brought his pregnant girlfriend to my wedding? And for refusing to let her be in my wedding photos. I got married last weekend. I'm still so pissed off at what my brother did. He took all of the attention off of me and my husband. Normally, I don't feel the need to be the center of attention, but this was my freaking wedding day. I feel like it's all anyone was talking about during the wedding, and now it's like the main thing any of them even remember from the entire thing. It was a destination wedding within the US, so nothing crazy. We kept the guest list to our families, immediate and extended, as well as closest friends. My parents paid for our immediate family to arrive about 5 days ahead of time, so it was my parents, my sister, and I initially, my brother arriving a few days later. When we knew my brother was bringing a date, no big deal. He said he was just bringing a girl from school. He didn't even call her his girlfriend officially. My parents showed up to the airport to pick my brother up, and there he was, hand in hand with an obviously pregnant girl that none of us have ever met. My parents were obviously taken aback. My brother greeted them like everything was normal, according to my mum. My parents didn't really know what to do or say. Then he just said, "Surprise!" My poor mum almost fainted and claims my dad yelled out, "What the fuck have you done?" He introduces us to this girl, but doesn't clarify if she's his girlfriend and doesn't give us much info at all really. It was very weird. It was obvious that she was uncomfortable. She said she wasn't feeling well and needed to go lay down after the flight. So at dinner it was just our family and she was resting. We were all awkwardly sitting around the table eating dinner, barely saying a word. My mum finally says, "Brother's name, is that your baby?" By then we all assumed it was, but my mum needed confirmation. The lack of any real explanation or details from him up until then was just odd. He admitted it's technically not his baby, but he's in love with her and intends on being a father to the baby anyway. The actual father isn't involved and doesn't want to be, and if they get married then he can adopt the baby so he'll legally be the father. She's living with him and none of us knew this either. He's been her main support person throughout the entire thing. She's 28 weeks, well 29 now since this was over a week ago. I think this was worse than what we had all assumed. So in love with her that he's going to take on the responsibility of her child and marry her. Yet we've never even heard of her. He said he has mentioned her quite a few times. Well, maybe he's mentioned her name in passing. Not to me, maybe to my parents, but never said she was his girlfriend or pregnant. None of us understand. He's 21, about to graduate college, planning to enter law school next, and he's an attractive guy. Why would he do this? My parents, especially my mum, were stressing out about it all weekend long throughout my entire wedding weekend. It was like my wedding became an afterthought. All my parents could talk about was how to make my brother change his mind about this girl. Then, when the wedding photographer was taking family pictures, he wanted her in them. That was really the breaking point for me. She isn't family. None of us knew about their relationship, and we met her 2 days prior. She shouldn't be in our official family pictures from my wedding. It's like, forget the bride and groom. Look at random heavily pregnant woman hitching herself to my brother. No. I told him no. I refused to let her be in the photos. My mum made me allow her to be in one picture, but said we don't have to buy that one or put it in display anywhere. It just made my blood boil. Anyway, I don't think he should have brought her. There was no reason to bring her to my wedding, especially without warning. I mean, it's all my side of the family could talk about. And he was reticent to even correct them about it not being his baby. He said that's because it was awkward for her to have to explain the full scenario to everyone. So he just let people think what they wanted, because he wouldn't at least say something. Everyone was gossiping and wondering about it the whole time. I'm posting this because I'm upset that several friends and even my own mum are telling me I'm overreacting and just need to accept it. When I told a group of my co-workers about it after the fact, they weren't at the wedding. They agreed with me and thought what my brother did was absolutely insane and rude. Look, everyone knows about the unspoken rule about not stealing the spotlight at someone else's wedding. We've seen it time and time again within these stories, and occasionally there's a rare exception to that rule, but this isn't one of those. I keep finding myself trying to put myself in the brother's shoes in this, trying to go through his thought process and thinking, what did he actually think was going to happen when he turned up with, surprise, I've got a girlfriend with a baby, that's not mine. I think it was just such a simple solution to phone ahead of time and saying, this is the situation, what do you think about it? You know, it's really not that difficult. But in the comments it says, had the brother introduced her at home, his parents might have completely lost their shit on him. At OP's wedding, he thought his parents would be focused on the wedding and their response would be muted. I would be pissed too. Another commenter says, it probably wasn't about wanting attention as much as it was about using your event. Your parents couldn't make too much of a stink about a situation because that would ruin your wedding, and also enabled him to push for rapid acceptance, which is why he wanted her in the pictures. From his perspective, he's now past the most awkward parts of telling everyone and getting her included, and nobody could argue too much because it would have disrupted things for you. Another commenter says, not the arsehole, weddings aren't a place to make announcements or give surprises, unless it's the bride and groom doing the announcing. I agree with some of the other commenters that think he was using your wedding as a shield so that no one could really blow up at him. I feel bad for the poor girl though. Your brother was such a coward that he had to drag her on a plane just to introduce her to his family. I imagine she felt the tension and won't entirely feel welcomed into the family now that you all know the baby isn't your brother's. And one more commenter who says, I don't think I would have attended your wedding if I was the pregnant girl because no one in your family even knew about her. Your wedding was not a good place for introductions or getting to know each other, unless your bro never told the girl that none of you knew about her. I can't help but feel that there's more to this, on your brother's behalf. I mean, who does that? I agree about the wedding photos, but your mum was correct to have one photo with her in it, in case she is a permanent family member. Don't let this overshadow your wedding day. Wedding days are important, but not near important as the decades that follow. Yes, really. I'm married almost 37 years. Best, Masha. So, OP had some additional info on the back of these comments. First one says, I'm not looking for attention. I'm looking to vent and see if most people would feel the same way if this happened to them. I'm frustrated that several friends are telling me it's not a big deal, as if they wouldn't be upset if this happened to them. Another commenter says, it's not that I was mad about him bringing somebody I'd never met before. I didn't expect him to bring a pregnant girlfriend, announce he basically had plans to become a father and husband, and then ask for her to be included in the wedding photos. Even if she wasn't pregnant, I think it'd be weird and rude to request for his girlfriend who none of us knew about be included. Just because I was fine with him bringing a date that we'd never met doesn't mean I was fine with the rest of it. He could have told us ahead of time at the very least. If he also says, oh, and I'm concerned about him ruining his life. It's almost all my parents could talk about all weekend. We all think he's insane and this will be a gigantic mistake. In her defense, she seemed very uncomfortable the entire time, and I don't think she wanted to be there. I think my brother may have forced this on her as well. I don't think I would have been so upset about her presence if we had just known ahead of time. He had months to tell us what was going on. There's no reason he had to spring it on us and our entire family at my wedding. He's 21. This decision could affect the entire trajectory of his life. Like he's cleaning up somebody else's mistake and he's going to suffer because of it. He's also the youngest child. He definitely gets away with more than my sister and I ever could. Anything he does usually gets forgiven. If he wasn't 21 and still in college, I might feel differently regarding his decision. I wouldn't feel differently about the way we found out, but I might be more supportive in general if circumstances were different. I don't think he did it to be malicious. I don't think he thought about what he was doing to me. He also hasn't apologized though. If after being told something you did was rude and hurtful, at least own up to it. OP also says yes, he's basically a baby himself still, and is not prepared to be somebody's dad. He said they were friends for 2 years, but it didn't turn romantic until after she was pregnant. Yeah, it was still a beautiful ceremony, and everything else went exactly as I wanted. Someone mentioned to OP that it must have been a prank, and OP responded saying, to not have admitted that by now, he'd truly have to hate me. That would almost be worse because it'd mean he intentionally planned to do this to me. I'm at least giving him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't fully realize what this would do to me as the bride. About his history with girlfriends, Opie says he's 21 and he's had a string of girlfriends going back to probably about 5th grade. He almost always has a girlfriend. The seriousness of some or most of these relationships is questionable, but that's to be expected for his age. If I were her, I would absolutely refuse to attend. My parents pay for where he lives and for where his girlfriend is now apparently living. I asked them if they were going to stop paying and they said, well, we can't make them homeless. They also paid for a huge chunk of his college tuition. They paid for a small fraction of my tuition and told me if I wanted to move out of the dorms, I would have to pay for that myself. I did move into an apartment with my boyfriend eventually, but my parents didn't help out. My mum criticized me for living with my boyfriend without being married, and we couldn't even afford furniture. They say they were just in a better financial position by the time my brother went to college, and they admitted they should have helped me more and just didn't realize. They learned from their mistakes and decided to do things differently once my brother went off to school. But they did pay for a lot of my wedding. My husband and I also contributed financially to the wedding. Opie responds to someone else saying, right, I didn't think I had any reason to request to meet his date prior to the wedding. He literally said he was bringing a girl from school. Like that's a bridezilla, requiring a visual inspection of all wedding guests prior to the big day. Plus, it wasn't a huge guest list. I wouldn't call it an intimate guest list, but it was mostly my extended family and his extended family, and a small group of very close friends. So about half of the people there were my family, who were all very surprised and curious about what was going on with my brother. Some people even asked me at the reception. He asked us not to tell anyone the truth about him not being the father. I respected that. Well, I told my friends, but I didn't tell anyone in our family, even though I was annoyed. I still followed his wishes. He knew our parents well enough to know how they'd react. That's probably a big reason he didn't tell them about all of this sooner. I don't know how aware she was of the fact that none of us knew anything about her, and I wasn't going to make her stay back at the house. I'm not that rude, even if I was upset about it. I didn't even tell her directly that I didn't want her in the pictures, and I wouldn't have said that to her face. She didn't even seem like she wanted to be in the pictures. She seemed very uncomfortable. She was 28 weeks pregnant and very obviously so. It wasn't a case of anyone blurting it out. Someone says why she just didn't disinvite her. Opie says, I'm not the type of person who could do that. I also didn't tell her directly that I didn't want her in the pictures. I wasn't trying to hurt her. She seemed uncomfortable. About the parents again, saying they don't want him to make this decision and derail his whole life. If they stop paying for where he, and now she, lives, it would make things considerably more difficult for him, and maybe he might wake up. As it is, he's already hitting that he may delay law school because of this. He's graduating in a few months. He was planning to go to law school immediately following, but now he's hinting that he'll delay that since he'll obviously need to have a full-time job to support a baby. Oh, and she took leave of absence from school due to her pregnancy, so he'll need to support her while she goes back. He hasn't outright said he's going to delay his plans, but he's dropped several hints. He can't even fully support himself now. My parents pay for much of his life, so if they continue to do that, they'll be paying for this girl and her baby too. It's not fair to do to our parents. And the thing is, it's almost all my mum could talk about for the entire weekend, so now she's telling me to just try and get over it. Not my brother's decision. She's still in knots over that, but the way he announced it. Part of the reason I'm so upset is that every turn my mum was fretting and crying about it to somebody. Opie talking about the girlfriend saying she's 21 and looks even younger. Very pretty girl and also very vulnerable looking to the point where I would never have been able to say anything rude to her face. I can see why he fell for it hook, line and sinker, but he's thinking with his heart and with what's between his legs and nothing in his actual head. And then Opie has one more comment saying, would it be totally inappropriate for me to give him a shirt in my white knight era? So 4 months after this, Opie updates the post and says, I think I might be about to do what I'm assuming very few people come here to do. I'm sharing an update and want to say that in hindsight, I think I was actually the arsehole in my situation. You can see my original post on my profile. I think I was riding high on wedding hormones and center of the universe vibes at the time, but I've slowly come down to earth in the many weeks since I last posted. I let my worry about the gossip about my brother and his girlfriend get in the way of me enjoying my day, and there's no way to go back and change it. I also realized that I should have just agreed to do one photo with his girlfriend included. One photo wouldn't have been important, and it didn't have to be considered the official photo of me and my family that I put in my wedding album or hung on the wall. I chose to be a witch to somebody I was meeting for the first time, and we already felt very uncomfortable. For many weeks after I made my first post, I was sure I was not the arsehole. I think the next bit's meant to say my head has deflated, and I've had a talk with my brother about it. We both come to the conclusion that in our family we didn't really learn how to have difficult conversations about things that we knew might make somebody else uncomfortable, which is why I couldn't calmly voice my feelings to my brother on my wedding day, and instead acted like a spoiled child. It's also why, instead of having a normal conversation with our parents to let them know that he was dating somebody who was pregnant by somebody else, that he was going to be raising this baby on his own, he panicked and decided to just announce it without actually having to voice it to them at all. And my wedding just so happened to be the first occasion he had to do so. I don't think he mentioned to hurt me. Several people have asked me about an update on my brother and his girlfriend. Well, she's his wife now. They got married. They're still together, living together. We've gotten to know her a little better, and she's not as bad as we all wanted to make her out to be. I think she genuinely loves my brother, and my brother loves her. She just so happened to be pregnant when they met, and they both acknowledged it's a bit unusual. My brother is the type who brings all the stray animals home, so I think we all sort of worried that he just felt bad for her, wanted to help her and protect her. But I think it's more than that. I went to her baby shower. She seems perfectly normal and nice, and really crazy about my brother. The baby was finally born at 41 weeks, and of course my brother was there. The baby is several weeks old now. Half the time I forget that the baby isn't actually my brother's baby, and it isn't actually related to us by blood. After my wedding, my parents started to get more concerned about the whole situation with my brother. My mum became the most judgmental one. My brother talked to our dad and eventually got him to realize that my brother is an adult, and he's going to do what he wants to do. Eventually my dad was like, "You're right, and I'd rather just support you here." My mum couldn't get on board. She wouldn't let herself even give his girlfriend/wife a chance. She convinced herself that my brother was just being manipulated and taken advantage of by this evil woman. She told everyone that too. So things were sort of tense because I felt somewhat in the middle at that point. But now, my mum has been the only person to babysit since the birth. It's like she saw the baby and forgot all about everything, and she's all buddy-buddy with his wife now. I'm shocked that this woman has decided to not completely cut my mum out of the baby's life altogether, but perhaps she's a bigger person than all of us. Opie adds, my brother has a big heart and can't resist helping somebody who he determines is in need. We worry about whether he was genuinely with her because he was in love with her, or he was with her because he felt bad about her situation and had convinced himself he was in love with her. This is how we sort of looked at the situation previously, not currently. Opie also says I wasn't comparing her to an animal, but honestly, animals are better than humans anyway. Opie says I didn't have to come back here and admit to anything. Nobody is forcing me to admit it. I've received several messages asking me for an update and finally decided to post one, admitting the truth as I see it now. I'm not comparing her to a stray animal. I was also trying to explain that my brother likes to rescue things and the entire situation was just odd to all of us at the time. Those thoughts I previously had, and I admitted I was previously the arsehole. I don't really remember what I responded to most people, and honestly haven't gone back to reread because it's a bit too embarrassing now. It wasn't the fact that she was pregnant, it was the fact that until the wedding, nobody in our family even knew she existed, let alone met her. She was also pregnant with somebody else's baby, but like I said, I've admitted I was the arsehole. I'm still on the side of Opie was not the arsehole, regardless if she thinks it or not. You know, I think there was so much opportunity to have this all out in the open beforehand, and like some of the commenters were saying, he used this event so people couldn't really contest it as much. And it also sounds like the girlfriend was in a difficult spot as well because she was really awkward throughout it. Like she was almost unaware that no one else knew about her. Interesting one. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from the relationships subreddit. It's got an update that came 10 years later. Not sure if that might be the longest one we've seen yet, but it's from Tattered Yahoo, who says, me, 39 male, with my wife, 39 female, of 10 years. Found out 2 months ago she cheated on me. She took pills, went to the hospital. We're working through it, but it sucks, and I'm not always sure I can. My wife and I both turned 40 this year. We have 3 kids under 10. Last couple of years have been less than romantic. I work all the time and she works 2 nights a week, so yeah, we've been falling out of touch. All the classic signs come up over the past 6 months. She dyes her hair, starts wearing cooler clothes, picks fights with me. About 2 months ago, I have the house to myself and decide to snoop. I see the text messages with a co-worker. Apparently they kissed one night after work in his car. She says, and I believe her here, it didn't go further than that. But her text messages were very clear that she wanted to, saying, I haven't wanted to connect with someone in so long. I want to see this through. The whole thing. That's burned into my brain. He rejected her though, so it never went further. I found out 2 weeks later. I text her that I found out. She takes a lot of pills before driving home. A friend takes her to the hospital and she's admitted indefinitely on suicide watch. Gets diagnosed with bipolar 2 and she has been in a hypomanic phase for months. This explains some of the behavior. I'm almost immediately caring for her. She is released only a few days later. It's usually much longer than that, but she says she was super motivated to get out for the kids and played the game. I feel it was at least partly a deflection, but what choice do I have? I try watching out for myself, but I have kids, a mortgage, a job, and a life. I don't want to be a divorced dad living in my dad's basement. I make okay money, but not enough for 2 households. I love her, but I'm having a hard time getting past this. We're doing individual and couples therapy. I've had some great and some intimate times since I found out. But she's kind of in survival mode and doesn't have a lot of energy to give, getting used to the new meds, etc. i.e., I'm the one reading the marriage books. I want to be here for her, and I'm trying hard to work on me. But I feel guilty that I can't get past it, even though I know that's not rational. It's only been 2 months. Just tonight, after a failed sexy time, she was too tired, I googled the guy's name again. But this time I found his Twitter feed. On the night in question, he's tweeting he has a crush, and he tweets what looks like an inside joke, and it's eating me up. I know he rejected her. I saw the messages, but maybe there's more to it. What the fuck is that inside joke? So the top commenter says to this one, look OP, she was rejected, okay? There was intent and that's all you need to focus on. Will she try this again? Probably. Will you discover it like last time? Hopefully. However you view marriage, whether you believe it's for life or until one party breaks vows, you need to realize the truth here. Your wife got all dolled up for another man, started treating you, her husband, like shit, and then got rejected by this guy, even though, as you say yourself, she wanted to go a lot further. Who is to say that if this guy actually wanted a relationship that she wouldn't have left you for him? Is this the person who you want to make things work with? So as I said, 10 years after that, OP updated the post and said, all the advice in my now 49, dear God, previous post was reasonable, good advice. And I'm glad I didn't take any of it. I'm still married. I still love my life and my wife, now 49. Like any marriage, there are things we work on. But in retrospect, the incident with the guy whose name I just realized I don't even remember, I call that progress, was truly a bipolar 2 hypomanic phase. At a time that the medication she was on for depression only exasperated the issue. Every year in May, on the anniversary of me finding out, and her suicide attempt for the first few years were very hard. It's gotten better every year. This year I didn't even notice till today, and it's over a week past. We vacation together. We're intimate several times per month. We have plans for when our kids are out of the house for a pop-up trailer and travel. I learned though the process of couples therapy, how important it is for me to be okay with just me. If I'm alone or end up divorced, I will survive and retain my identity. Have my hobbies and have established my self-worth. She has continued to work on her mental health with professionals and has succeeded in avoiding the worst ups and downs. I love her, she loves me, and we're still gratefully together. All this to say, divorce and separation may be the right answer to a lot of situations. I don't take for granted that it isn't my future. But you should know it's not the only solution for really bad situations. You may be able to work through it and be happy. TLDR, my wife and I are still together and happy, and I'm glad I didn't take the fairly consistent advice from my post 10 years ago. And on the back of this one, our buckle this says, "You're delusional. You actually want a pop-up travel trailer?" Opie replied saying, "Lol, we want an Airstream, but in this economy." Peachy says, "Damn, this was so honest and hopeful. Really cool to see someone choose growth over bitterness and come out stronger for it. Wishing you both the best." And there certainly was a mix of comments below that one. Some people saying they just wouldn't be able to do that and, what's stopping her from cheating again, basically. Other people saying that sounds pretty hopeful for their relationship. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you feel if you was in OP's position? Would you be able to move forward with that relationship after what initially happened? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.